Hi, everybody. I'm Greg, and this is the Shadow Hour. I'm a member of the Shadow Hunters Paranormal Crew, and tonight we have a couple guys with us from Ghost Head Soup. Before I get to them, I just want to mention one or two little things. I still want to put another shout out to Fred from Spirit Recon, who had some pretty hairy surgery, and he's on the recovery. So if you get a chance to think about him, say a prayer, please do so. And besides that, we're going to go ahead and bring in Dean Thompson, and I want to say it's Nick Hanson, correct?
That is accurate.
Okay, we got that part right. These guys are from Ghost Head Soup. If you want to go ahead and give a little background on why your team is called Ghost Head Soup, let's start there. We did it before, but we might have some new people tuning in, and it might be a good idea to go over it.
I'll give my version and see if it matches up with Dean's from last time.
Sure.
And then we can go from there too.
That's great, Nick.
Yeah, the way I recall it is, we were sitting around, and all of us kind of just came through as independent hunters, and we were sitting around one night trying to come up with a decent name, something catchy. And one of our members, Mark, who I believe was on last time, he mentioned something about the Rolling Stones and Goat's Head Soup, the album, Goat's Head Soup. And then we kind of coupled that up with another member, George, was telling the story about stone soup, which I don't know if you're familiar with the tale, but everybody in the town brings a little something and puts it in the pot, which was kind of the basis of what we were after, was everybody in the paranormal field bringing something together and throwing it in the pot and cooking it up together as a soup. And the rest was history from there.
Wow. I'll tell you, that's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah.
That's for sure. When you guys have how many members now?
Oh.
Last time I counted one.
Yeah, one. We could be anywhere. I think we could be anywhere between 5 to 10 at any given moment.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it was always 5 core group members, but we, sticking with the same analogy of soup, we, tend to think everybody adds a little flavor, so we like to bring other folks in to boost that flavor at any given time.
So you meant researchers. I gotcha.
So you guys are out west from here. Are you guys still out of Alden?
We're in Alden, Sycamore, Yorkville, Wonder Lake, Hoffman Estates.
Wow.
So we're kind of thrown all over the place there.
We have sleeper cells everywhere.
Yeah.
So this year, the way it's going and everything, do we have any big plans for starting out?
Already good.
Where
already
did you go?
started. I like I said, I got to get out of the house. I'm not working, so I like to explore a little bit. So I actually put on some ice skates on Marketplace, and the person that bought them was up near Madison, Wisconsin. Bought them was up near Madison, Wisconsin. I said, well, I'll drive them up there. I don't care what the cost is. So I searched some areas, searched some towns, and see what was haunted out there to make the trip worth it. And I came across this Elsing's secondhand store and this Grand Hotel, and was reading up on some of that in Stoughton, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And I learned that it ended up being the same place, and I do flea marketing, so you have a secondhand store that's haunted. Great. So I went in there and talked to Phil, the owner, and told him right away why I was there, what I was doing. And great dude. He was telling me some stories. And they have this little boxer that walks around, the dog boxer. And I think his name is Odie. But they had another boxer there, too, that passed away. And the dog was a little bit shy at first. He kind of warmed his way up to me later on. But he kind of was walking around. And when I was talking to Phil, I felt like his nose pressed into the side of my knee, like he was sniffing me on the knee. And I was about to say, hey, Phil, I think he's warming up to me. But before I even got it out of my mouth, I noticed that the dog was across the room. So I reached down and I just kind of rubbed that out. I'm like, oh, okay, that was pretty prominent feeling there. I said, do you have any ghost dogs here? And he's like, he doesn't know for a fact, but, again, it was great to meet up with them. I spent some money there, spent about 2 hours and 22 minutes, and they didn't have any. His wife actually wrote a book about the place, and so I ordered that right here. I ordered that off of Amazon, so I got the book, so I'm reading up on that. And there's a lot of people that we know in there that went up there hunting. Mark Dorset, Nick, he was up there.
Yep.
He's in the book. So, yeah, we got those, stuff like that. I love to go out there, and that was in January, so.
Yeah, in the fall, that's when I was going up there to drop my son off and then follow over because he was going to hike up there off the Kettle. And, all the stories about the Kettle and everything, it's like, boy, this could be crazy if you're going up there by yourself.
Yeah, that was the other place that I was looking into. I guess there was I did find an article where there was unfortunately, some young Girl Scouts or something that got burnt in a tent fire. That was horrible. And so there's, some tragedy out there along the trails. So I didn't get to the Kettle, but, just roaming around Wisconsin is always cool, always fun. And meeting up with great people, like Phil there, and just he told me story after story. It was great. That's had so much fun. Just had so much fun that day. So,
did you hook up with that hippie Tom guy?
No, not hippie Tom. He was closed. I think his Facebook said that they're not going to open till like May, maybe something like that.
Yeah,
but that's something. He was on American Pickers, and when you told me that name, I thought, yeah, that name sounds familiar. And he was on American Pickers. Frankie and Mike went up there. It's kind of like Nick and me are kind of like Mike and Frankie. I'm thinking we could go up there.
Well, that reminds me. Do you remember we were brainstorming one night about that concept of? I won't give our name out just for copyright purposes in case we ever do it. But
if you say it, it's copyrighted here. It's already.
Oh yeah, very good. It was very. We were calling it paranormal pickers, and we were going to go door to door and just see if people had hauntings at their house that we could just walk in and hey, we're here to investigate.
We give them the list. These are what we're looking for: demons.
You go to one house and then you put it in the truck and then you all of a sudden you go, go to the next house and say, hey, I got something for you.
Right, we're delivering the last one.
Drop it right back off again. There's a couple places like that are in Richmond too, the same kind of thing. That place that I talked to you last time about, that where Reclaimer or architectural something, that they have things that are going on in that building too,
right?
And it's all that stuff that they bring in with them, which is pretty crazy,
Yeah.
So how about investigation wise, what are you guys going to be doing coming up?
Well, we did have one coming up soon. Amanda, Tim, and I did the pre-lib meeting a couple weeks back. We kind of discovered, a lot of high EMF readings and causes of alarms that we kind of, let the client know to put them at ease. But there's other signs there. It's a private investigation, so can't really divulge too much. But there's a lot of possibility where things could happen. They're going through some stuff as well that's causing a lot of it. So a lot of what they're doing is bringing some of that stuff in. But there's also that little element that, well, maybe there's a possibility. So we're still going to look at it a little bit deeper. But, yeah, something in the future, I would say by February or March.
I think you also had a you also had a potential invite out to the Monroe House again, didn't you?
Yeah, Melissa and I both have been to the Monroe House in Hartford City, Indiana. The first time was with Dale Kazmarek and Bob Davies, and that evening was interesting. Didn't get too much out of that night. Bob said that he saw a shadow and some other things happened, but nothing really stood out for us as the claim. They're calling it the mysterious house because they want to get away from calling it the demon house. Because I agree, I don't think it's demonic at all. But on our first night there, I thought it was funny because I actually said, "Hey, let's order a frickin' pizza and have it delivered to the demon house." We ordered the pizza to be delivered at the Monroe House, which I thought was funny. And then coming home, Melissa and I just started talking about just random things, not even talking about the case. And like at the same moment, we both had this powerful impression to like the house is calling us back. And we both kind of said it at the same time. It's like, I think the house is mad because we're not talking about it. She's like, I was just thinking the same thought. And next thing you know, we had the same feeling, like the kids are pulling us back. They want us back and all this other stuff. And it just had this real pulling sensation on our brains where we just immediately set up another date to go out there. And before we went to Virginia, Lake Shawnee and St. Albans, we actually stayed at the Monroe House the night before we left to go down there. So we did an extra hunt on the way down.
Wow.
And that
cool.
night was pretty. Yeah, the one thing that Melissa had before we were leaving the first day was she was in the living room area and she heard a voice say, "Leave" or "get out" or something like that, something to that effect, where she ran around the house. I went around the house to see, what could have made that noise or whatever, and we couldn't find anything. The second time we went back was quite interesting because it seemed like something was preventing us from getting there. And some of the claims about the house is that, people have died with the van incident or something. There's so much stories about it, but we stopped at James Dean's grave. And then it was sunny. It was sunshiny. Next thing you know, there's sirens and tornado warning. It was like, what did I call it?
The derecho.
Thank you. And all of a sudden, it just opened up. The winds were flying. The trees were blowing. The rain was coming down. And Melissa's like driving like a madman. We're turning off the side street. We're going down the trees and cows and stuff flying all over the place. Wires were down, cars were back, stopping, hail on the side of a car, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? It's like they're trying to keep us from it, but for some reason the kids wanted us there, and all of a sudden it like lit up on the street, and the cars going by us, the water spraying up looked like it was emerald color, like a greenish hue to it. I was like, what the hell is that? And then Melissa goes, oh my God, we're in the rainbow. Like the end of the rainbow or something, because it was like that greenish color, like it was so bright and brilliant. It was just like, oh shit. We're in part of my language there, but we were in the freaking rainbow, I was like, what the hell is that all about? And then we get there, we run into Eddie. Eddie's finally there. He's like, I thought the house was going to collapse, because it just picked up so bad. And the tree branches were all over the place. And once we got there, it was over. The storm was done. So, I don't know. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah.
That's right out of a meditation.
What's that?
With all that meditation.
It might be out of Dean's medication.
Real fast, I'm going to go ahead and just do a hi to We got Danny Botts. We got Gail Burkle, Kelly Griffey, Ron Lovett. We got Nida Kimbrell, and who else? Barbara. And let me see if I can get down to the rest of these people here. You got Angie, Kate Shroud. You got Angie Gerber, Melissa Johnson. Melissa. Melissa Johnson again. She says, I still feel drawn to that house. I think about it often. It said, get out of here. Felt like we were being blocked by something there. So I thought I'd just catch up with that stuff before it got too packed, and then I would never know where I was at.
Yeah.
You know,
that worked out good because you got Melissa's stuff there. So
yeah, that's awesome. You know, I sort of miss her.
You sort of miss her?
Yeah, that's always neat to run into all you guys, you know, on investigations and everything. A lot of people, you know, it's like I always try to keep up on everybody too, you know, one way or the other, getting a little idea how everybody's doing. You know, we've been doing so many of those of these Zoom meetings, you know, for GRS compared to what we do with shadow hunters. You know, it's a little different. You know, so it's different locations. You know, it's different parts of the city, etc., that make a difference. And I feel very blessed to be with both of them. You know, that's for sure. And it's a great experience. But you know, I run out of time a lot because I got so much going on with a lot of things, and they say, hey, you need to take some time off.
You know, you bring up a good point, Greg, too, and you were asking about, you know, any big plans with the current situation with the pandemic. Obviously, I mean, everything has been shut down, depending on what state you're in, almost literally everything. But with everything hopefully coming back this year to, I just look forward to like being able to go to conferences, just being able to have a face-to-face conversation. Don't get me wrong, bless you guys for having this online format, but a face-to-face is just, you know, I thrive for it now.
It's tenfold, that's for sure. We really miss it too. I know that one of the locations that we all were together one way or the other at was always Post Town.
Yeah.
And you know, now you've got their conferences coming up in September, which is like a Paranormal Unity. Everybody's going to come and tables are free, and you know, you could have a great 2 days up there with everybody. And that's a lot. That's pretty cool when you combine the states too.
Absolutely.
You know, to be able to really know different people from different areas. And one of the opportunities that we've had too is, you know, with the Psychics Unite is go ahead and really have people in four states now for shadow hunters. And we got Minnesota, you got here, you've got Indiana, and you got Ohio now. So that's
a great
cool.
network.
That's pretty cool now that it's like that, and a lot of it was because of Psychics Unite.
Yeah.
And you know I believe we talked about this last time, but I have no memory, so I'm going to say it again. When you guys go on an investigation, I think we did talk about it, about going ahead and you have some people that have gifts on your team, and do you use them to your advantage or not?
Absolutely. You know, so I'll start by saying Dean, when we first started, was the world's biggest skeptic. I mean, who isn't, besides myself? I believe everything's a ghost, right? But Dean was always thinking everything was being able to be debunked. Well, then when you couple it with Mark, go ahead. Couple it with Mark, who
I'm a go-between.
Oh, yeah, you're a go-between now, but when we first started, you were skeptic as could be. But yes, you are definitely a go-between now, and I've seen you evolve over 12 years.
And I think you have sort of, you know, I think you're getting to the point now where you actually feel comfortable with me a little more. I knew in the beginning we weren't that comfortable, were we?
I thought so. I'm a pretty
Okay.
easygoing guy.
I am too, quite a bit.
Well, what Nick said is that I have a tendency to lean more the skeptic side because I think they've done more research to disprove it than to prove it. So I want to say, okay, if we come to where we're at in the field, let's peek in to see what the skeptics say about the same situation and see if they had any answers to at least something that we're missing. And that's why I say I'm a go-between because I like to see, okay, let's see what they worked on already and compare it up against our notes that we're doing in the field. Because I am spiritual and I do see things that I can't explain or hear things that shouldn't be there. So there's always a question there. So, and you can see from my wall over here, I'm, spiritual. So.
Right. I remember, so speaking of people that are gifted, obviously everybody's got their own gifts, but we brought in, and I know they mentioned the lab last time that we were on, but we brought in Ruth, and forgive me, Dean, I don't remember Ruth's last name.
Or Ruth.
Yeah, well, we'll go with Ruth. But anyhow, Ruth is a great medium, great psychic, and everybody's a little bit skeptic of psychics right off the bat or mediums right off the bat. And we went through the entire night, and she was spot on almost the entire night. But there was one moment that blew my socks off. And I know, when we were talking before this show here, I mentioned that I have an 8-year-old son. Well, I hadn't had the kid at the moment, and my wife was actually pregnant the night that we were in with Ruth, and I hadn't mentioned anything to anybody on the team about her being pregnant or anything, but we had already chosen a name for my son as well. Well, walking around with Ruth, at the end of the night, she looked over at me and she said, "Nick, I just want to let you know, Avery is here." And I kind of jumped back a little bit and I looked at her. I said, well, what do you mean? She said, everything's going to be okay. I just want to let you know Avery is here. Well, we had picked the name Avery for my son about 2 weeks prior to that. And I, like I said, I was just shocked. I couldn't believe the fact that she had put the two together. And it was just one of those validation moments that I loved.
So here what happened with Nick that night. Because she said, someone's coming. You're going to meet Avery. And that's when Nick said something. And he didn't just step back. His head hit the damn table. He's like, "What did you say?" He couldn't believe what he was hearing. No, his body language, his head hit the table.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole last year has been like that for me. And I started getting involved because I wanted to go ahead and come up with some, how could you say, not work on a gift that I have as far as sight's concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we go in and we don't have anybody with any psychic abilities and we go into a place, especially on a private investigation, and we go in there and we don't have those eyes, we could get in trouble pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole fact of it for me was that, I had the opportunity with Scotty Rourke and with all the great people that are in Psychics Unite that are a part of our family now, and they're my family. And it became to the point where I started taking classes to become a medium,
mm-hmm.
And an empath. And it's like, it's a game changer for me.
I believe it.
In the respect that, things are really happening, and the things that are going on is like, I wish I would have done it a long time ago, but you only go when it's your time, It's
mm-hmm.
when you finally get the message. And I've been blessed to a sense. So, that's what's great about it.
May I ask, was there any certain type of trigger that led you to that? Like, was there a life-changing event that led you to make this decision?
That just strictly the point of being more protected on an investigation.
Sure.
And people coming into places that some people shouldn't even have gone into.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying demons or anything like that. It's just that the spirits can go ahead and sense whether or not you're attachable. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're not putting up a good shield, you might end up going home with somebody. So, it's like wearing your protection. It's your Saint Benedict medals. It's Saint
Mm-hmm.
Michael's. It's saying your prayers before you go in. It's the whole ball of wax. Good maintenance, and you have a good program, and you're probably going with the chances that way. Not that there isn't something that you don't see that's going to come batter you, but the same point. I think it's been important because I was never, all of the investigations before I came up here, we had no medium.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that after experiencing a lot of things and seeing some other groups in action, it was like, wow.
Yeah, I try to be careful of that because I know in the past, seeing images in my head and have it validated, I started using a notebook to write stuff down and having that validated. And then I remember one night at the lab, I'm like, it feels like somebody's trying to get in my head. And Tim's over there like, oh, open it up, let it in, let it in. And I'm like, no, it feels like my thoughts are being sucked out of my head. I didn't want anything to do with that. So that's when I kind of shut it down. And, I had this conversation with Sarah Bowker, who you should have on your show, by the way. She and I were talking about that. And I said, I see a video playing in my head and it came up with a name and it ended up being the name of the person that had the property before the lab, so stuff like was being validated.
Mm-hmm.
But to have the thoughts, it's just that feeling of, someone like hacking your brain just doesn't sit comfortable with me. So I would rather not tempt it. I'd rather go with as expected or things happen for a reason type of thing, synchronicities I have to deal with along with everything else. So I just kind of stay one plane like a musky fisherman, just sit in the boat and you could cast how many casts before you catch one. That's what I want to do. Don't make no ripples. Don't do nothing. Easy going.
It's protection again.
Yep.
And that's if it was presented to you in that way and you were able to go ahead and go through some lessons and sort of validate exactly where you're at, and at the same time give you the gift of having guides with you, spirit guides.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're out there, and
and they offset. They do whatever you would like them to do. And
so
it's go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys bring up a very good point for both of you, with protection, with validation, with knowing spirit, and just a little backstory on myself as to, why I'm really just, again, blown away at the 2 points you guys are making, because when I was born, I had a near-death experience, right? And we always hear the stories, cliches, they put you in tune with everything. And that's really what got me into investigating and ghost hunting. Well, again, Dean's going to give me grief for this, but I've also been a palm reader for, probably 20 years.
Wow.
And that's one of the things, most of it is, in my opinion, it's observation and intuition. So if you can go and observe and use that intuition, everybody's got it. It's just a matter of when it shows, or like to your point, Greg, when you choose to actually pursue that and make that come out.
You know,
Yeah,
I was going to go through it specifically like I would do any other class.
Mm-hmm.
And what would happen is that those gifts that I had would be in my equipment box with all my ghost equipment.
Yep, the same as like an EMF you can use yourself.
Right, but I mean, I would literally take the stuff, close the case, and that would be it. But now it's every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that more. It's a whole brand new way of looking at things and everything else. That's what the development is.
Yeah, I can tell you as a novice, when I first started, you know, everybody in Ghost Head Soup probably has more in-field experience than I did when I came in. Well, I would go out on the investigations, and you know, I'm reckless. I am the epitome of the reckless spiritualist that we got the EVP on one time. But at any rate, well, the point I'm trying to make is I'd come home from an investigation, and my wife, who would pick up on things and kind of harbored sensitivity towards me, would say, you know, you're not alone tonight. Or she'd say, you guys used a spirit board tonight, didn't you? Or, you know, and she would pick up on things, and then, you know, strange things would happen around the house. And to your point, I feel like I opened up that point of communication, and things were just following me home. And you know, it was a matter of me trying to close that door or close that communication and say, draw that line in the sand. Here's my home time. I need to have my home space be sacred, so to speak, and we'll keep the investigations at the investigation.
It's like creating the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you go in it for your protection, and you take the bubble that's around you and you push it out so that it's at all four walls.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the protection is concerned. And, you know, and we're getting off
trust
kilter a little bit.
Trust your senses. Brings me back to St. Albans. That place, big time negative feeling for me. I talked to the owner, and unfortunately I didn't record the interview, but you know, I just had this uneasy feeling, and one of the things that I asked her was, what part of the building don't you like? And she said, the filing room. And I'm like, well, where's that at? Because that's where I want to go. I want to see what those spirits are doing to her to not have her like it. Because one of the rules that they have there is don't send the ghosts on. We love our ghosts. We want to keep them here for entertainment. You know, that. And I'm like, you can't trap ghosts. You know, but anyways, that's how I took it. You just don't do that. But so I had this uneasy feeling. And, you know, I stayed away from everybody. Tim was doing his thing, and Melissa and Amanda were already upstairs doing something else. And I just stayed in that little area where we all set up. And I just went back into the corner, watched the sun go down, and asked this guy here, you know, to show me the light and put light in me and let me know if there's a reason why I'm here. Am I going to be okay when I cross the threshold? And, you know, I felt something. I felt good. Still nervous, but then I got up to the door and crossed the threshold. I said, okay, if I'll know at that point. So I stepped in, crossed the threshold, and I felt fine. And for the rest of the night, it went awesome. I know everything was going on. I mean, it was like one of the best nights ever. So just getting that form of protection, as you said, you know, that is a form of protection. So that probably was the first time and the only time that I've ever did something like that, just because of St. Alban being that hardcore place, man.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a crazy night.
Yeah.
I remember I got lost in there twice. and Bob
didn't make it through. Davies. Yeah, Bob Davies didn't even make it through.
Bob Davies. Bob Davies was in the middle of a hallway, sitting on a chair. I think he had an EMF meter. It's just darker than dark.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm walking down this hallway, and I had a little one of my little flashlights, and I would just do a beat on the floor to get an idea where I was. And I'm just going down the hallway, and all of a sudden I just went like this. I could have very easily have wet my pants because he was like right here. He was like right in front of me.
Yeah.
And it was so dark you couldn't see a thing in front of you until that happened.
Not even.
Yeah.
The place is cool. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it is
Oh,
amazing. You got your walkie-talkies. You call the guy. Okay, bring me this room, because last thing you need to do when you have a chunk of time. That's what I liked about the place, is that you could call the dude, say, "Hey, take me to this room here," so you don't have like spend 2 hours looking for the place. You know. Yeah, Melissa's saying St. Albans was intense at times, and unfortunately, I put protection on myself, but I didn't put protection on the rest of the group. But her and Amanda went into the boiler room, and they had some interesting things happen there. And Melissa had her car. Someone crashed her car, so she was kind of getting a little. And then scratched up in the suicide bathroom. She got scratched and touched. They were picking on her, so she was getting picked on. And I'm over there with my bright light going, "Hey, I'm happy." I was like, "Wait a second." But we got out all right.
Plus the fact I don't think that Melissa needed protection that night because it was her birthday.
It was her birthday, yeah. And Greg brought a cupcake.
Yeah, it was like, well, we can't just go ahead and have her have a birthday without having something to put candles on.
Yeah, sing happy birthday to it. With the evidence, was kind of funny reviewing that night. Tim had set down a recorder on a stairwell, like one of the main stairwells in the front, and he went away, did his camera work, and I hear him on another recorder or camera saying, "Man, I can't find my recorder." So for the whole night, that recorder was sitting there, so I would hear people come up and say, "Whose recorder is that?" Or people were talking, so I was hearing like all these different conversations.
Dale came around. He called me up, and he says, "Greg, you need to go back into the main staircase because all the sensors, the motion sensors on the stairway going upstairs, they were going off."
Right.
And he says, "You probably captured something," because I was at that first level. The stairs went up like that, and then they went up right at that landing, I guess it's called. I had my camera set up there, and I started it, everything was running, and I left, and Sutton turned it off.
Yeah, the place is crazy. The place is crazy. The one thing that I haven't put anything out there because the stories that these people are telling are not validated or consistent with anything news. I mean, they tell the story, they say this happened, but they finish it up with, "There's no record of this." So I was like, okay. And sadly, they have a story of a young boy being molested by an older intern or something. And I saw this one person did a Facebook Live where everything he was getting out of there, saying they were like, the kid was enjoying it and all this other stuff. I'm like, why are we doing this? Why is this happening? Why are you putting this out there if it's not true? And now you're going to have all these other groups think it is true and then come in here and then say the same thing. The spirit's got to be, again, I'm spiritual, and I think we should treat spirits like we treat each other, not like, zoo animals. But in researching some of the stuff, I did see a lot of suicides off that bridge right off the back there. One of them, I think, was a doctor that I found too. So there are stories out there, and the place again is crazy. It's mazy. It's bizarre, and I think a lot of it has to do with. I think the negativity has a lot to do with the living more than the deceased. So,
Yeah.
sorry to say that, people, but it's just my feeling.
Some people that are listening in, that's in Virginia, and it's the home of Virginia Tech, right? The name of the town? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's near there, Radford. I want to say Radford, Virginia. Yeah.
In case anybody needs to know.
If anybody repeats my story, my name is Tom Brady.
Hey, good luck this weekend, Tom.
Thank you.
Boy, we're all going to be eating crow if it really happens, though.
Yeah, no kidding.
And who knows with that. But the other one that went in and came into play, and I think we talked about it too, was once again, was out at Kathy Krussel's at Haunted Rockford at the museum.
Yeah.
And I know that you guys investigated it, right?
Yeah.
What did you really think of that?
Are you referring to the Veterans Home Museum?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Me personally, there was a couple spots that I thought were what I'll call charged up at the moment we were there. The downstairs, right by where they keep all the relics in those glass cases.
Yes.
I thought those were nice. You had some good energy coming off of there. I also liked upstairs in the balcony where you could kind of go around to where the backstage area was. I think that was rather charged the last time that I was there. I know Dean's been there a couple more times, probably more than I. What are your thoughts, Dean?
Well, more or less for the conferences and stuff. And the room that I was in was the Abe Lincoln room, I want to say, where he had the head in there. And it was dead. Nothing really happened in there. But I know Mark was down in the basement area there. And he said that was pretty hyped up. So I agree with Nick there's that the basement and the balcony would probably be the best spots if you were going to do something.
Yeah. To me, it makes sense. I mean, you got all that area that you're sitting in where it's the amphitheater, so to speak, or the indoor theater, I should say. You're going to get all that resonating coming up into that balcony, and then all the residual energy off of the relics that are in the basement. So it would make sense that those would be two hot areas.
Anything on the stage?
I was only on the stage with Dean for maybe 25, 30 minutes, and he was doing a presentation. So I was more focused on what Dean was doing than what energy I might have been feeling.
Yeah, and then you got Tinker, and it was like Tinker's Swiss Cottage for people that don't know what we're talking about. We've only been in there once by ourselves.
Really?
And it's been it. So
yeah.
And the night we went was after her conference, after Kathy's conference. This was 2 years ago now? Maybe it was in a monsoon storm.
A derecho, as it were.
It was just unbelievable.
Right. I've been to Tinker not nearly as many times again as Dean and Tim and the group, but I would say at least a dozen, maybe even 20 times that I've been to Tinker with the gang here too, and it's always something interesting. And here Dean and Tim are very savvy and conscious of anniversary dates out at Tinker Swiss, and they tend to get in there on birthdays, Christmases, things like that might have a better impact. But just recently, I was listening to a story about. So Tinker, as Dean knows, he lost his foot to whatever it was that he ended up losing his foot. But I don't know if you knew, Dean. His father actually lost his foot as well. So both son and father lost foot, had it amputated while living in that house.
Well, didn't John have his crushed by the railroad tracks in a train?
Robert had his crushed by the train.
Okay, Robert.
I think his dad lived in New York. So are you thinking Josephus maybe?
No. I'm thinking the dad. I mean,
Ruben.
it was
Ruben Tinker, I want to say
Ruben.
his name.
It was Ruben. He lost his foot due to I want to say staph infection or some type of medical infection that caused him to have his foot amputated. So I thought it was ironic, and would lead me to believe or want to check into the date or age of Ruben versus the same time as Mr. Tinker Robert.
2 feet ahead of us.
Or 2 feet behind us, one of the two.
You knew it was going there.
Right.
I had the feeling, but what the heck?
Right.
That's what makes it interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, but Tinker Swiss, great place. Go ahead, Dean.
So with the Tinker, Amelia Cotter, who you had on a couple weeks back, did that documentary, which was awesome. And thanks again for including us. And Nick owes Amelia a palm reading.
I do.
But I want to thank you, Greg, for putting her on there because, like I said earlier, with the synchronicity and the reasons why things happen, she had mentioned out of the blue this Hellier, Kentucky documentary that I never heard about. And you had said, oh, yeah, it's Hellier, Kentucky. These guys went down there and did the documentary with people in caves and stuff like that. So Nick and I were watching that day, and I'm like, here, I'm going to check it out. It's all free online and stuff. So I watched it. First 3 shows, I was like, this is kind of boring in a way. But one of the things the reason why I kept watching is because they were talking about synchronicities. And then the guy said, he's sitting there doing the headphones thing, and he goes, a tin can just popped into my head. And that's when I turned to look. And from that moment on, the rest of the show, I've had more synchronicities, all my synchronicities with the triple digits, the light turning off, everything in my world has been going crazy. I have a list of things, and when they talk about the tin cans on the show, I think it was, I got it here in my notes. So yeah, they talk about synchronicities. It was like season 2, episode 4, or something like that. The one guy was talking about the tin cans and the bridge in Minnesota. I know I'm spatting off here. It doesn't make any sense because there's so much going on. But
No,
I'm getting to the point. I'm getting to the point. So the guy in 1965 said he saw 3 like tin cans flying in the air that looks like a UFO and a bridge, and they were trying to compare the bridge to that of the Mothman Bridge. Mm-hmm. And the date that the guy reported this was October 23rd, 1965. That's my exact birthday.
Wow.
So now the tin can, that reference, and then it goes into my brother's birthday, which was January 17th, and the show was released on January 18th, I want to say. And then something with the Green Men. Now, my brother passed away from lung cancer. His girlfriend collected Green Men. She had a giant collection of Green Men, still has. So I called her and told her about this show, and I said, you got to watch this. And then I was watching the one episode where they went to the coordinates and they found a happy birthday balloon. I'm like, well, that's a happy birthday. My brother's birthday is like in 4 days. And I called Brenda, is her name. I said, you got to check this out with the Green Men. And I told her about the balloon, and she goes, on his birthday every year, she releases a balloon.
Oh, wow.
And then the whole tie-in with the balloons later on, I'm like, I got to sit here, just take my notes, stack, and wonder why, I don't even know. I got all these notes and I got to make sense now. And I was just like,
go ahead, Greg.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and that all stems from when he and I were watching Amelia on the show. It's amazing to see, that's a couple months in. Excellent.
And it was weird because, like, out of the blue, she said Hellier, just out of the blue. Oh, by the way, Hellier. And I'm like, oh, well, that must have been for me then.
It's amazing, the whole thing. Absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've watched it now 4 times.
Really?
Both seasons. And you can, if you go back and watch it again, you will pick up more.
Oh no, I was taking notes after the tin can, but I was like multitasking. And listening at the same time. And then as soon as he said tin can, I dropped everything, turned to look, and whatever reason, I don't know why it triggered me. Maybe, tin can, soup can, who knows? Ghost Head soup, tin. So then I looked and I'm like, well, that's interesting. And then from that point on, it just everything triggered. I mean, to have that on the my exact birthday and year. I mean, deciding with the tin cans. And there's more to it that happened. I'm like I said, I got a list of things, and it goes with the balloon and Trickster and just God, it just got crazy after a while.
Alan Greenfield, the guy that wrote one of the books,
Mm-hmm.
is another one of those characters that was in there that brought in that whole thing about terrorist, terrorist and all that, and it just went, and it was like, wow.
Well, you should see what I came up with.
Well, there can only be so many coincidences, right? I mean,
it's amazing.
I got it to where there's another character that they may not be aware of who David might be.
Oh, wow. David Christie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. How many seasons are there of the show?
There's 2 right now, and there's another one that's coming up here pretty quick.
Yeah, and Dean, where did you say you can find it for free?
YouTube.
Okay, just wondered.
You got it on YouTube. You got it on Amazon Prime, and Netflix, I want to say.
Excellent.
But it's still
starting.
When we got into this pandemic, everything went crazy, and I was a follower of Greg and Dana Newkirk,
okay,
of the Haunted Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that that's when the first season of Hellier came out. And there's a lot of things like with Dean that I have that was the people that were involved. You got Carl Pfeiffer and Connor Randall, which are the 2 investigators from the Stanley.
Yeah.
That knew my daughter more than they knew me.
And Carl, if you spell his name with a K, and if Ryan's listening, he'll know what I mean by that. Is it Carl with a K?
Carl with a K.
I don't know what I'm talking about from because we did a investigation at the Alden Schoolhouse last year on August 21st, and it was my last day at the school, so we did like our final exams there. And one of the claims by psychic was a person by the name of Carl with a K that was in this little area, pantry area. And our records show that there was a Carl there from 1913, 1913. And he had German descent, so most times their names are spelt with K, and then when they come over here, they kind of Americanize it with a C. So one of the things I was just finishing up on some of those videos, and I just Carl with a K, and then when I went back to the Hellier notes, Carl with a K. Come on.
You know, Dean, speaking of moving out of the house or the last investigation, a little part of me is sad about that too, because that was one of the better places that I like to go and investigate, was up there at Alden Schoolhouse. Greg, I don't know if you ever got a chance to go there, but
No, I
tremendous
watched
place.
the last night was when they had the bonfire in the backyard,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching that.
We had,
And I know. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so here's a segue off of where we were at into what these guys spoke about last time. And I know they mentioned the reverse EVPs and how we were getting to that, right?
Right.
Well, one story that stands out to me over at Dean's place when he was at the school is, again, adding flavor into the soup. We had a gentleman of Native American descent, easy for me to say, and we called him Standing Bear, right? Yeah. So we were out there and doing our investigations, and at one point throughout the night, and I think we had mentioned, backwards or reverse EVPs before, but at one point throughout the night, he looked at his phone and he was getting text messages from his wife, and you couldn't understand him. You didn't know what the heck was going on. He's looking at his phone like, guys, what the hell is this? And so finally we took a look at it, and the entire text message was written out in reverse. So you had to go almost from bottom right and read it all the way back into the top left to make sense of what it was. And it was almost like, something simple like, what time will you be home, or something along those lines. But it was just something that was like, oh, this is crazy. Why are we now getting backwards text messages while we're out here?
That was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody wanted to get your attention.
Absolutely, something wanted to get our attention out there.
And that's the way to do it, man. Give us a message of reverse. We're listening.
Right.
And you guys get that all the time, too.
We do. I don't know if they're trying to say we're the most backwards ghost hunting group out there or what. But
I have trouble with it just going forward.
right.
I don't need to go and do it backwards.
I think they said Dean's not going to believe it one way or the other. We got to give it to him smack in the face with this one.
If you guys want to stay around a little longer, it's up to you. I don't care.
I don't mind.
Okay, that's great. It's when you bring up all that stuff that's happened during this period of time, and how you all of a sudden you start to understand about your group and the people and the investigations, and how you'd go out on these investigations time after time, and it was like, okay, I got one more, and now here we are, and everybody's chomping at the bit, wanting to just get the hell out and do something.
Serious.
And the conventions and everything else, bringing that up. Post Town, like when I started in the beginning, they got that big one that's going to be going on in September. Mansfield's going to be doing one in June. And at Mansfield, they're going to actually have the vendor tables in the West Cell block.
Awesome.
In the cells.
Yeah. Are you guys, yourself or anybody from your groups, whether it be the paranormal groups or the psychic groups, going out there to participate?
Yeah, we're going to be at Post Town.
Awesome.
Because, the Psychics Unite, that's Scotty Rourke's and Terry Rourke's group from Madison. And they have all these divisions of Psychics Unite that go the same way as pretty much Ohio, Indiana, and that, and Illinois. And we've got the group in Antioch. So, it's just a big family. It's a bigger family than it was before, which is, to me, is mind-boggling.
I want to take the time to do a shameless plug for your family too, because Dean, I think it was the time that Amelia was on here got me started on you guys' podcasts. Well, since then I've been watching yours, Scotty's, the name slips me right now, the Angel Card lady.
That's Sharon.
Sharon, yeah, thank you. But I've been watching those, and you guys do a great job entirely, everybody together. So kudos to you guys for starting that up, doing this. It really draws people, it gives them something to look forward to, or at least something to see some communication on.
Yeah, on Monday nights at 6:30 is the Psychic Unite group. That's their big meeting. We have it every Monday night. And we have people that come in, and it's just a place where people can go. The same idea with paranormal groups, where you never had the opportunity to go out and talk about it because you felt that somebody was going to come back. Like our generation, my generation, they would have threw us an Elgin and took the key away.
Right, or burned you at the stake, one of the two. Yeah,
one of the two. So and now this is just more of an opportunity to really help people than it's ever been before, because there's people that really have no idea what's going on with themselves until they get an idea of how they're ticking and what's making them tick. So that's a real important part when it comes to that, where I'm just glad that I'm part of it, that I'm here and I can observe and I can pay attention and I can learn, because it's a great opportunity, Yeah,
and there's so many. Do you guys do a show every day of the week here on the Shadow Hunters?
Yeah, we start, like I said, Psychics Unites on Monday, and that's all chapters. That's across the country, and people get together for that. And on Tuesdays, that's Sharon's her oracle card readings. Scotty's all about Scotty talks about, and that's on Wednesday. Devin Evans is our other psychic lady, psychic medium, who is the representative for Shadow Hunters from Ohio, and she started out not only Psychics Unite, but she has a Shadow Hunters group out there. And then my show is on Friday, and then you have Jen Hodgson, and she's on Sunday nights, and she's from Indiana, and she has the Indiana chapter for Psychics Unite. So it gives everybody the opportunity to see how everything sort of meshes and how everything works together, because there's not a lot of groups around that can do that.
Yeah, it's a true definition of a network, and me for one, I'm amazed to see how large your network has gotten in such a length of time that you've been here.
And then that in Wisconsin, from Scotty, it goes all the way up to Michigan.
Don't forget Nick's show on YouTube on Sunday nights, he says.
Oh my God, I'm sorry, Nick. I don't have my notes. I'm going to probably be fired. There'll be a new host.
Right. And join us next Friday when Nick is hosting Shadow Hour.
Wow.
Okay.
I just reading something there. I don't.
Well, Nick's got to talk about his axe murder house experience.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so, well, yeah, thank you for prompting that, Dean. Bringing up a traumatic experience in my life. No, actually, it was, probably, it was
missing a foot.
Maybe 8, 9, 10, no, it had to be more than 8 years ago, because my son wasn't even born yet. But anyway, I worked for Monsanto, which many people will say is the devil, but it's the seed cord company. And I was an auditor for these folks. Well, they used to send me around the United States to different seed corn locations and everything. So one of them just happened to be just outside of Alaska, Iowa. Well, when I was driving through there, I thought, well, I got to stay here throughout the evening. What am I going to do while I'm here? And I knew about the Villisca Axe Murder House, so I thought, well, why don't I get in touch with, and again, I'm terrible with names, and the older I get, my memory gets shot. So I got in touch with the guy that was curating or running the place at the time. And he typically said he wanted groups of 5 or more, obviously so they can make some revenue or anything. But I was there either a Wednesday or a Thursday night, so there wasn't a whole heck of a lot going on for him. So I decided I was going to book myself to stay at the Villisca Axe Murder House and see what I could do on a solo investigation, as it were.
By yourself?
By myself. Oh, absolutely by myself. Now to make matters worse, before I go to this and I get off of work, I decide that, and I think the movie, it was either The Last Exorcism or one of those types of horror movies was out before it. So not only do I decide to book myself at the Villisca Axe Murder House, I decide to go to The Last Exorcism before I go there to get myself in the proper mood before I show up there.
Proper mood.
Proper mood, yeah. So long story short, I mean, the things I had with me were obviously a camera, a click camera or cell phone camera, whatever it was at the time, something to take voice recordings with. But I got your typical responses, especially right around the times of when the alleged murders had happened. I got the doors closing and slamming. I got the footsteps going through. I never got any shrills or shrieks, but saw some nice shadows that might have been coming out. Might have been my eyes playing tricks on me. But all in all, just a fantastic experience as far as a history side and a paranormal side. I don't recommend anybody going there by themselves or any investigation by themselves. But it's one for the history books and one that I can at least say that, yes, I got to experience the Villisca Axe Murder House for what it was.
That's pretty awesome.
It was pretty sweet.
That's like going to the Little Bighorn and leaving with about 15 arrows stuck in your back, huh?
Yeah.
God. Well, 807. One more story. Who's got a story?
I got a story, and then Dean can play off this story if you don't mind. Just because it takes me back to the lab and when we got started, and gives a little bit of Ghost Head Soup history. Now, as they mentioned before, the last time we were out, the lab is a fraternal organization, and Mark, who was on before, is a member, and I am also a member of the fraternal organization. So, I've known a little bit of the history, but I was relatively new to both Ghost Head Soup and the fraternal organization at the time this happened. So we're going through doing our normal, getting the equipment ready, going to do our investigation, setting the cameras up, what have you. I have a FLIR or Fluke, one of those infrared cameras. One of our ingredients, I'll call him Joe, was with us at the time. And to give you a little insight on Joe, Joe is a large man. And when I say large, I mean probably 6'7", 250, maybe 270 on a bad day, right? So he's a big dude. And all of Ghost Head Soup plus Joe is there, and we're doing our investigation, and we're walking through and testing our equipment. And I come through a threshold from one of the rooms into another room and take a peek to my right. And as I peek over to the right, there's a bathroom. And then we have a little raffle wheel for some of the meat raffles that we may do at the time. And out of this bathroom comes a figure as clear as I can see myself, but, typical ghost, you can see through this transparent figure. And as I look and I see it, Joe comes walking around the corner, and I don't barely get the words, "Hey, Joe, do you see that?" out of my mouth when it disappears. And Joe's kind of looking at it like, "No, I don't see anything." Well, seconds later, this raffle wheel that's sitting over there just starts moving on its own, and you hear this tick, 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 and the thing starts moving. So Joe, and pardon my, and I won't swear, but he grabs me by the shoulder and he says, "Nick, let's get the F out of here," right? So he's kind of frightened. So I said, "No, that's why we're here. We're going to stick around and see this." Well, we all go out, regroup, and I'm sharing my story downstairs to the folks. And, Mark is saying, yeah, that type of stuff is prevalent around here. Well, what really drove it home for me, and what I really liked about the experience, was being part of this organization. A couple weeks later, when I'm at the actual fraternal meeting versus a Ghost Head Soup meeting, I'm sharing the story with a couple of the frat brothers that are in there. And as we're walking out of the room with the lights on this time, I see a picture that is along the wall, and I point to a gentleman that's in the picture. I said, to be honest with you, this gentleman in the picture looks like the guy that I saw coming out of the bathroom. And the guy looked at me and he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes." "Why?" And he said, "Well, that picture is of Tommy, and Tommy passed away 2 years before you became an Oddfellow." And I said, "Oh, really?" And he said, "Yeah, and to compound upon that, his ashes are over by the bathroom." So Tommy's ashes were inside of the fraternal organization, right next to the bathroom where I had seen him come out. And that was just another one of those validation moments for me where I thought, all right, something's calling me out and says this is where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right. That's a great story, Nick.
It was a great experience.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, we haven't been to the lab in a while.
What's that?
We haven't been to the lab in a while. Couple
No.
months because of COVID. But
another one of those things I'm yearning to do.
Once everybody gets their shots, everything will open up pretty good.
Yeah. Have you gotten yours, Greg?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
I was going to go over to the VA and check out. I have a meeting on Monday, a Zoom meeting of vets from over there, from PTSD group, and we're up on the third floor, and the Dr. Bear is the one that runs it, and I was going to see if he can't get any more information for us so that the guys that are in the groups can go ahead and get them done. I know they were doing them last week, but there's no method to the madness.
Sure.
You can, if you see, I'm like 30, 40 minutes away. No, 25, because it's down in North Chicago. So I'd have to go all the way on the tollway and take that down to 137 and go across. And, it might take longer, and who knows if I'd get in or not.
Right.
So we're on 3 different sites around here, supposedly, for Lake County. Hopefully we'll get it out. So
I'm just, anxious myself, as everybody is, to get back to as normal as possible, I suppose.
That's the extent of that.
Right.
That's a real cool. Is that a picture you got on the wall there, or with the handprints?
This over here is actually I'm going to try to put my arm through it. It's a green screen, and I was trying to get it to where it was set up behind me, but I didn't. I didn't have the capability to move the camera beforehand.
Yeah, looks great.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of being serious and stuff, Nick and I also, we mentioned Frank and Mike from Paranormal Pickers, or American Pickers, but we also played off of Paranormal. What's
Paranormal State?
Paranormal State with Ryan and Chad. Remember those guys?
Yeah, that was a great show.
What was it? 9-10 years ago we did this, and we did a little 13-minute spoof called Paranormal Streakers. So if you go to our YouTube, if you go to our YouTube page, you'll enjoy it when it's worth. It's hilarious sometimes. The funny thing is we had it up there. We did it all spontaneity, bone. We did it done. I obviously played Chad. Got Ryan down there, but so you had to beat me out a lot. So I was using this cuss word a lot and the F word. And we did an event at the lab using a spirit board and candlelight upstairs. So we had the spirit board on the basement and then candlelight upstairs.
Okay.
And I don't use a spirit board. I was upstairs with the candles. So one of the things that they were using the spirit board is it spelled out F-U or something like that. It kept saying F-U, like somebody saying F-U. So we asked it well, who's swearing? And it spelled out Chad. And we're like, well, who's Chad? I go, well, I'm Chad because I played Chad and I was swearing, but it was right, Nick. It was hilarious.
It was so crazy too. Yeah, it just all tied together. It was like F you, Chad, and he's. I mean, when I say Dean was passionate about this when he was doing his method acting, he was passionate. I mean, he was he was getting it out there, and well, you know, some people could say provoking spirits, but yeah, it was totally crazy again to see that spirit board come through him. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was a good spoof. As Dean mentioned, it was totally off the cuff. We just came in and ad-libbed it, and we're just joking around one day, and it kind of caught on. And do you remember, Dean, the two guys, Ryan and Chad, actually ended up commenting on it?
Well, it's funny. I think it wasn't that long, and Chad actually commented on the YouTube channel saying, "Nice job, guys, touche."
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, then I woke up because the hits went from like 5 to like 500. I'm like, what? And I'm like, hey, Chad just liked our YouTube page, and you know, poor Nick over here playing Ryan. He's like, what do you think? Ryan's gonna watch it? I'm like, if Ryan's gonna watch it, I'm sure Ryan's gonna watch it. And then Ryan posted it on his Facebook page or something, and that's where the whole thing went crazy. And it was pretty fun. Just that little 15-minute of fame from our little 13-minute video.
Right.
And you know, it was all out of love for the field, and just everyone was doing spoofs during the time. I mean, what was it? The guy that does Destination Fear or whatever. He started off spoofing Ghost Adventures.
Yeah, Dakota, whatever his name is.
Dakota, yeah, he started off spoofing Ghost Adventures. So.
Yep, and now he was on Ghost Adventures then. Like, say,
yeah,
you know,
now he got his own show.
Right? They say flattery is great. Yeah, he was. Yep. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Dakota Layton, that's his name. Yep.
Nicholas posts that because he's a big fan of Dakota's.
Cool.
That's for sure.
I love the guy. He's fun. He's fun to watch. I like your show.
You know, honestly, I respect everybody that does anything in this industry because it's people say science, people say paranormal, people say whatever. If somebody's got a passion and a hobby, go for it. Why not?
Right. You only go around once.
Of course, maybe twice in some cases, but
4 times.
Right.
Anyway, Kathy Perr is on here right now. Can you believe that?
What happened?
Kathy Perr is on.
Oh, hello, Kathy.
From GRS. They're going down south tomorrow, I think. Better bring your booties with you and your earmuffs.
Yeah.
It'll be a little cold down there tomorrow.
They're going down tomorrow?
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, it's going to be a little cold. I always talked about equipment real fast for a minute. Mm-hmm. And you guys have a bunch of good cameras that you use, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Tim's a camera guy.
how do you think about going on something like that on a long trip, and you have them in your cases, and just the extreme temperature difference on a real good camera and condensation that's going to happen inside the frame or the box on the cameras, that, you know, it's, I don't know if I'd take anything really expensive with me on a trip like this. You know, your phone's one thing, but.
Well, even utilizing your phone. So I used to work outside a lot on cell towers, right? And we used to use our phone while we were climbing the tower and taking photos of the tower. But any type of camera, any type of battery, as you well know, it's going to sap so quickly in that cold. You're not going to be able to really get much of anything anyway. But to your point, yeah, that's protect your gear and don't take anything expensive, because who knows how that elements could affect it.
Well, it's been great having you guys on here tonight, and I'm sure we could probably go for another hour
easily.
But you know, the way things are going tonight with some of the people, I'm sure they have to go to bed tonight, and I have a curfew, so.
It's been great. It's been great being here with you, Greg. I wish I would have been here the last time Dean and the group was on as well, but again, faithful watcher, first time participant, but thanks again for having me on.
Hey, Nick, it's a pleasure meeting you, and it's a pleasure having you on with Dean. Dean, you take good care of your guys, and everything's fine. You see, that's great. And once again, if you got a link for your YouTube channel, you can send it, and I'll go ahead and post it on the page.
If you do ghostheadsoup.com, every link's on there now. It's a free Google site that we created.
Okay.
All the links go to all the different areas. So
that's what I was hoping you were going to say.
Yep. So then
Awesome.
It's a landing page. Yep. Good
And
landing
we'll have
page.
you guys. Yeah, we'll have you guys on somewhere down the line. We'll get together again.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure.
Yep.
Keep it rolling, and let's go ahead and get out there as soon as you can and go say hello to some spirits.
You got it, man. Fish on too.
Okay, we will. Okay, good night, you guys.